Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Helldivers 2. But before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. So let's get into it. So 4E Prime is within the Gloom, and it is the first expedition that the Helldivers are able to make within the Gloom. So there's a lot to kind of talk about and compress, and we'll do our best here. So 4E Prime isn't the only bright yellow planet that we've been to. I want to say that Meridia was that way after our attempts at keeping the bugs out from where they don't belong. Before we imploded it into a black hole and caused ourselves other problems. That's besides the point. So 4E Prime is within the Gloom, and you can see kind of this haze, almost like there's many spore spewers all over the place that are causing problems with almost like a fog. It's not causing problems, but it is causing problems, if you know what I'm saying. Now, in addition to that, I feel like there are a larger number of patrols for the number of Helldivers in the mission. You remember way back they had increased the number of patrols but kept 4-player patrols the same, and then they changed it back so that if there's 1 player in a game, in a mission, there's a certain number of patrols, and then 2 people, it's double, triple, quadruple the number of patrols. So you're more likely to hit patrols. This feels like it is coming back to that before it was fixed, where you had the same number of patrols on a single player versus a 4-player, but then 4-player is even more than that. So just more patrols across the board, and bug breaches happening more often. Now, I've not done the actual calculation to see on any particular mission at a certain difficulty level how often bug breaches occur. But when you do one of these missions, you'll certainly feel like bug breaches happen more often and patrols come across you more often. Now, as we saw before we were able to go into the Gloom, that we started seeing these predator strains. So if you do see a predator strain modifier, that is going to amp up the difficulty even at the same level if it wasn't there. Now, the predator strain, of course, is the mutations of the hunters, the medium-sized jumpers, and the stalkers, those guys that like to turn invisible. They're more aggressive, and they cause Helldivers a lot more problems than they would otherwise. Not only that, but stalkers are found along points of interest and in patrols, not just popping out of stalker layers. So if you do see predator strain, then you'll know that. Saw this as was an interesting bug fest. So that not only were they making E710 out of the bugs, but they were also using them as a food source. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Now, that's one of the other things. These were populated worlds by Super Earth citizens. More than likely, they were used as E710 oil farms. So they had the Terminids at these locations before there was this, outbreak of Terminids. Now, one of the things you can notice is that the brood commanders, or the commanders, I should say, are popping up or calling in reinforcements of 3 bugs instead of 2 that you would normally see, and one of them is armored. So you have that increased level of difficulty even at the same level as worlds outside of the Gloom. So in the Gloom, more patrols, more bug breaches, plus when they call for reinforcements, you're having more reinforcements show up within the same amount of time. So it might be worthwhile to use the booster that'll reduce the number of reinforcements. That's certainly up to you. It's kind of one of those catch-22 scenarios. It's like if you do use it, then all of a sudden you won't run into patrols as often. But if you do, but if you don't use it, patrols are all over the place and they're on you and calling for reinforcements right away. Yeah, I did notice, or it seemed like reinforcements were being called much sooner, not just in between, but also when you came across a bug. So if the bug noticed you, all of a sudden, normally it would be maybe 5 to 10 seconds before they called in reinforcements, and now it's going to be like 3 to 5 seconds. Have this unexploded hell bomb. I'm hoping to take out a bunch of them. Less than a dozen, but I'll take it. Now you'll also notice that there may be different objectives than what you're used to seeing in missions in general, especially for bugs. Like this particular one that had upload escape pod data as the main mission, which you never see except for lower difficulty, and I'm doing level or difficulty 7 suicide missions. Additionally, there is this geologic survey, only the last part of it, not the other, when it's the main thing. When it's the main objective, you usually have like 1 or 2 or even 3 surveys or smaller surveys, and then the main one, like this one. This was only the main one, but it was a secondary objective. Additionally, there was also you'll see secondary objectives for destroying a certain number of Terminids, much like the Illuminant missions that you would sometimes see, having to take out a certain number of Overseers. So you might have to change your tactics. You might want to make sure that you bring your friends in with you. Certainly another pair of hands or several pairs of hands wouldn't hurt, but do remember that the missions do scale with the number of Helldivers in it. So although you do multiply the ammunition, you also multiply the amount of ammunition that's used in addition to the number of stratagems and the number of patrols. So you have more patrols, you have patrols or bug breaches happening more often and with more bugs and more quickly. So all these things put together really amp up the, I don't know what you want to call it, the difficulty, the fear factor, the ability for you to do a mission and successfully extract. Not to mention the amount of time it takes to do an entire map. If you're used to clearing an entire map, I think you can still do it. More likely in a full team than if you're solo. I think you probably could still do it. Depending on what the difficulty level is and what difficulty level you normally play on. I think if you normally are able to solo a, let's say, difficulty 10 mission, you might want to dial it back to a 9 or 8, and then you'll experience more or less the same. So keep that in mind. Now, of course, you'll see these cities that have been transformed by the Terminids, almost like a goop. Again, very similar to what we saw on Meridia when there were mass mutations going on, which the Super Earth scientists thought was due to the bug spray that we were using. Seems like forever ago that was going on. So using a barrage, like a 120 napalm barrage, 380 walking barrage, all those are, you know, decent choices depending on your playstyle. Eagle strikes, sentries, the machine gun and Gatling sentry. Gatling's very good at large groups. Machine gun you can call in more often, but can't really deal with the large groups of bugs that you're going to see on higher difficulty missions. Mortars may not be great for bugs for the normal reasons, since most of them are melees. You're going to end up taking yourself out or your teammates more often than not with mortars. Now I had an obscured map, so I couldn't see where any of the nests were. I could mosey around the map and look for nests and points of interest. But with all things being equal, I spent a decent amount of time getting to this point with the escape pod uploads and that geologic survey. So I kind of felt like this might be a good time to extract. Now, your experience with extracting, I've found that it can go one of two ways. Either it goes without a hitch, not to say that there aren't bug breaches and patrols and whatnot that you'll come across, but you do. However, it's manageable. Or B is that you have what feels like an endless horde mode of enemies coming for you with a vengeance. So I am out of grenades, running low on ammo. Recoilless takes a bit of time in order to reload, so it's difficult when you're being harassed. Hopefully you've got an easier time extracting, but that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.
Down equipment package. Request approved. Reinforcements have been launched.
Reporting to the front.
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Eagle 1 rearming. Be back shortly.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds. Deploying equipment package.
Have a taste of democracy! Feels good!
ETA T-minus 20 seconds.
Grenade!
ETA T-minus 10 seconds.
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates.
Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying Helldiver.
First piece! Calling down a sentry! Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Requesting orbital.
Reinforcement budget depleted.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.